So, have you ever set a huge, exciting goal for yourself, only to find all your motivation just gone a week later? Whether it's hitting the gym, learning an instrument, or starting that side hustle, consistency is the one thing that trips almost all of us up. We're going to dive into why that happens and how a really simple mental trick can change everything. Right, let's just ask the big question. Why is it so incredibly hard to stick with something new? It feels like it's a universal struggle, right? But the answer isn't really about a lack of willpower or discipline. The real reason is, believe it or not, a lot more biological. It actually has everything to do with how your brain is wired. And this is the culprit right here. Your brain, with all its ancient, hardwired survival instincts, doesn't look at a massive, life-changing goal and see an exciting opportunity. No way! It sees it as a threat. It sees a huge, unpredictable drain on your energy, and its number one job is to keep you safe and conserve that energy at all costs.
And this brings us to what we can call the big goal problem. It's this trap we all fall into where our own ambition kind of backfires on us. We think bigger is always better, but, well, our brains have other ideas.
I mean, think about it. When you're staring down a task that just feels overwhelming, like write a 300-page book or run a marathon from scratch, your brain's threat detection system just kicks into overdrive, and its response is to shut down. It slams on the brakes. Now, this isn't you being lazy. It's a self-preservation instinct that, in our modern world, just ends up sabotaging our best plans. So, if these giant goals are the problem, what's the solution? Well, it's a super simple, kind of sneaky rule that lets you outsmart your own brain. We're talking about the 1% rule. The 1% rule, which you might also hear called Kaizen, is all about making tiny, continuous improvements. So instead of trying to make some giant leap, you just focus on taking one tiny, almost laughably small step forward every single day. The whole point is to make the progress so small that your brain doesn't even notice it as a threat. And this right here is the real game changer. That traditional big goal, it feels huge, right? It triggers that shutdown we just talked about. But 1% micro progress, that's so manageable that it does the complete opposite. It actually gives your brain a little reward, and that builds your motivation over time.
Okay, so why does this little mental trick work so well? Well, the science shows that the 1% rule isn't about fighting your brain. It's about getting your brain to finally play on your team. The secret weapon in all of this is dopamine. You've probably heard of it. It's that feel-good chemical in your brain that's all about pleasure and reward. And every single time you complete a task, no matter how small it is, your brain releases a little bit of it. It's like a chemical pat on the back that says, hey, that was good, let's do that again. And this creates this amazing, powerful feedback loop. It's simple. You complete a tiny task, your brain gets that little dopamine hit, and you register that feeling as a win. That little sense of victory is what fuels your motivation to do it again tomorrow. You are literally training your brain to enjoy the process. See, by making the task so easy that it's almost impossible not to do, you just bypass your brain's threat response entirely. So instead of shutting down, it stays in what we could call engaged mode, actually looking forward to that next little reward. Okay, so we've got the why. That's the theory. Now let's get into the how, because the science is great, but we need a practical tool to actually make this stuff automatic. The technique has a bit of a fancy name. It's called implementation intentions, but I promise you it's incredibly simple. All it is making a super specific, concrete plan for exactly when and where you're going to do your tiny habit. This removes all the guesswork and all the friction. Here's the perfect example of what I mean. Saying I'll exercise, that's just a vague wish, isn't it? It's really easy to put off. But saying, at 5 p.m. I will do 5 push-ups, that's a command. It's a fixed appointment you've made with yourself. There's no room for negotiation in that moment because you've already made the decision. And the benefits of this are huge. You turn a fuzzy goal into a crystal clear action. You totally eliminate that moment of weakness where you try to talk yourself out of it. And eventually, after enough repetition, this planned action gets so ingrained that it just becomes automatic. It's a real habit that runs on autopilot. So let's bring this all together. What is the key takeaway from all of this? Building consistency isn't about some giant, heroic effort that you do once.
It's this. This is the whole secret, right here. Consistency isn't some personality trait that you either have or you don't. It's a skill, and it's a skill you build by collecting and stacking these tiny daily wins, one right on top of the other until they compound into this unstoppable momentum.
So I'll just leave you with this one question to think about. Forget about the massive, intimidating goal for just a second.
What is the one absurdly small action you can take today to get a 1% win? Because that small victory, that's the first and most important step.